wanted to die.
I lost everything I ever cared about. Everything.
Almost like every day is your last.
I want to stay alive for me, because if I'm going to die in here, I'm going to die for my truth.
I think I'm going to wake up from this nightmare.
Death row. Usually it's a separate world, a forbidden section removed from the general population of prisoners, but not at the Tennessee Prison for Women in Nashville. Here, an 8x10 cell at the end of the maximum security wing is the home of death row inmate Christa Pike.
She was only the second woman to be sentenced to death in the state of Tennessee. At the time, 10 years ago, she was the youngest woman, I believe, on death row in the United States.
Christa does not deserve to die. No one deserves to die.
For 12 years, Christa Pike, who is now only 30, has faced the possibility of execution.
I did something horrible that is unacceptable, and I realize that. But I don't deserve to die for the actions of 3 individuals.
I'm against the death penalty, and I just have so much faith that God is not going to let my daughter die.
Back in 1995, when Christa was only 19 years old, she was convicted of the horrifying and violent murder of another teenage girl.
I've never been in the presence of anyone I thought was pure evil, but to me, she's pure evil.
Regardless of the crime she's committed, she has a huge heart. To those of us who know her, she's still a little girl.
Carissa Hansen is her daughter's staunch defender, but growing up, their relationship was stormy.
She could be so sweet and loving one day and then in trouble the next, and it was just an ongoing battle with her.
In 1994, when Christa was 18, her mother encouraged her to leave her home in Durham, North Carolina for Job Corps, a vocational training program for troubled teens at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville.
Job Corps promised an education. She could be a nursing assistant.
But Christa was more interested in her new boyfriend, fellow student Daryl Shipp. She was also intrigued by the 17-year-old's religious beliefs. He was a Satanist.
I think she sort of latched onto it because it was interesting to him.
Daryl was respected, if not feared. He protected me. He was probably the first man that I'd ever had in my life that wanted to protect me, that saw me as, a treasure, something good, instead of something to use and toss to the side.
Christa made other friends, including a quiet girl named Shadola Peterson. But Christa also found an enemy, 19-year-old Colleen Slemmer.
Christa was angry because she had heard, or she was accusing Colleen of having designs on Daryl Shipp, and she wasn't going to let anybody get her boyfriend.
In fact, Colleen was never interested in Daryl, but Christa became strangely obsessed with her imaginary rival.
Christa would go into Colleen's room. Colleen would wake up and Christa was standing over her. And she had called her mother, told her that she was very afraid of Christa Pike.
I need to get out of here. I need to get home. I don't want to be here. I hate it. And I said, you can't. You signed a contract. You have to stay there.
Then, on the evening of Thursday, January 12th, 1995, Christa seemingly had a change of heart. She invited Colleen to join her, Daryl, and Shadola for a walk in nearby Tyson Park.
This is the location where Christa brought Colleen that evening. They picked this park because it was isolated, it was closed in the evening, and they would be virtually alone here.
Christa told Colleen they'd all go to a video store and smoke some dope on the way, but in reality, she had quite a different plan.
I wanted to get her off campus, and I had every intention of fighting her.
Probably when they came through this tunnel, that's when Colleen began to think that she was in trouble. And she started asking Christa if she really was going to have weed and smoke a joint.
In response, Christa started yelling at Colleen, hitting her in the face again and again.
As Christa was hitting Colleen, she was fighting back. And Colleen wanted to try to make sense of the whole thing. And she kept saying, now, wait a minute, let's talk about this.
Then the horror began. Christa took out a box cutter she'd hid in her jacket and slashed Colleen's stomach, hands, and breasts.
Well, Colleen tried to run away, and that really infuriated Christa. And Christa and Daryl knocked her down and drug her back. Then she started kicking her.
Don't move. Stop moving.
Christa continued the attack with another weapon, a small meat cleaver.
I knew exactly what I was doing. Everything that I did that night, I knew what I was doing. And I think I was taking things out on her that had happened to me years ago.
Then Christa gave the box cutter to Daryl to use on Colleen.
He cut a pentagram into her chest with the box cutter, symbolizing Satan.
Here is a young woman who must have gone through absolute hell. And I can't imagine anybody going through that, and I can't imagine enduring that as she did for that long.
They toyed with her. They played cat and mouse with her. They would let her get up. She would beg for her life. At one point, they said that she told them, just let me go. I'll not say anything. And they said, you know, we can't do that. You know, we've already done stuff to you.
For 45 minutes, she had cut her. She cut her throat. She made that comment, the bitch won't die. And so she took a large piece of asphalt that was discarded on the side of the road. She made 5 strikes with that piece of asphalt, and finally she said, I want to see her brains flow. And she, with all her might, hit Colleen in the head and cracked her skull, and gray matter did spill from Colleen's head.
The three of them hid Colleen's mutilated body in the bushes and returned to the campus.
Where those trees are is where her body was found. And that's where we saw imprints in the mud and blood drippings from probably her throat area. You see her handprints, knee prints.
Within 36 hours of the murder, police had recovered Colleen's corpse and had all 3 Job Corps students in custody. News of the horrific crime spread like wildfire.
It was really a slaughter. And that's not a word that I'd use lightly, but it was a slaughter. This victim is pleading for her life. She's trying to run away. She's saying, if you let me go, I won't do anything to put you in trouble. It's happening on a cold, rainy January night, in the dark, in a place where nobody can hear Colleen screaming, because that's what she's doing. You add all of that up together, it's hard to forget that kind of a crime.
It did not ever once enter my thoughts that Christa was involved in that murder. Once I found out that's what had happened, I still couldn't believe it. I didn't believe it for years.
Police believed it because of the blood on Christa's clothes and because she gave them a full tape-recorded confession.
Christa, by her own statement to Randy York, said that this had gone beyond what she thought it would.
If you turned your back, you'd think you was talking to a little girl. She was very talkative, very willing, very excited about what she did, willing to tell you about it. And right off, I got the impression that this is the grandest thing that's ever happened to her, and this is her highlight in life.
I was the first one they arrested, the first one they interviewed. And I thought that if I went in there and told him that I did every single thing that happened up there, that Daryl and Shadala would just get to walk out of there and they wouldn't worry about them anymore because they had the real killer.
Through one of the psychiatrists, come out with the opinion that she had all the profile of being a serial killer, but probably got caught her first time.
14 months after the murder, on March 22nd, 1996, Christa Gale Pike was on trial for murder and conspiracy to commit murder.
Her trial was huge. The DA was running for office, so the media was all there.
My suspicion is that she appreciated that and probably felt like it gave her some status.
Just over a year after the murder of 19-year-old Colleen Slemmer in the woods of Tennessee, Christa Pike stood on trial for this savage, tortured death.
Crystal kept looking back, laughing and joking, sending notes to her mom, sending notes to her lawyer, just laughing away.
But Christa shed tears when her damning 45-minute confession was played in court.
During the whole trial, I'm thinking those jurors cannot look at my daughter and see and know how sweet she is and convict her of this.
It took the 12 men and women less than 3 hours to render their verdict. Guilty.
Well, after Christa was found guilty of the murder, they go into the penalty phase. And to prosecute someone that young for the death penalty, particularly a woman, is very unusual.
The state of Tennessee had not executed a woman since 1837, but the district attorney was convinced he could get a death sentence.
Her mom took the stand and said, and it sticks in my mind today, I was a terrible mother. I was a terrible mother. She tried to show the jury, hey, some of this is my fault.
If there's any one thing that I could change if I went back, it would be that I would have spent more time with my children.
Every child goes through broken homes or mixed up families or whatever. That does not give a child a right to, kill.
It took the jury only an hour and 15 minutes to reach their decision, death by execution.
I knew from the beginning that I would be found guilty, and I knew from the beginning of my trial, that I would get the death penalty.
It was a commotion, to say the least, but when they sentenced her to die, all I could do was scream at the jury, and I called them all murderers, that, you're killing my daughter. And
she said, can I just hug my mom? Can I please just hug my mom? And she was crying and pretty much shouting.
When he handed down the death sentence, there was mixed emotions. I said, that would be great.
And they got up and walked her out, and I heard her say, oh, as they walked her through the door.
And that was the defining moment in how my life was going to end.
The next day, guards intercepted a letter Christa wrote to her former lover, to Daryl. Christa signed the letter, Little Devil. Christa's accomplice to Daryl's ship was also convicted and sentenced to life in prison.
I think I deserve to be in here for the rest of my life. I do. I know I do. I know I don't deserve to be out walking around with everybody else in normal society. I did something horrible that is unacceptable, and I realize that. But I don't deserve to die for the actions of 3 individuals when I'm only one person.
she's told me on many occasions that she wishes she'd been the one that had died instead of Colleen. And, you know, that she's so sorry for May, Colleen's mother.
Colleen Slemmer's mother is not impressed.
I personally think she has it too easy right now. Being in death row, nobody can touch her. She's got a fan, angels, TV. What kids, get that into prison? She's special.
I live in one room, 23 hours a day. And for going on almost 12 years, that's a long time. I'm only out of my room 1 hour a day, and that's just in another cage. It's like a dog cage, a kennel. So I'm either in a box or in a kennel, and, that's pretty much it.
Christa's legal appeals kept her alive through 2000. But in 2001, her life entered a bizarre new phase. 5 years after her death sentence, while in maximum security lockdown, Christa ran afoul of another murderess.
Tricia Jones had tortured me for about 4 years. She used to call me fried chicken, make noises to me and tell me that's how I was going to fry in the electric chair.
Patricia Jones, serving life for killing an 84-year-old woman, threatened Christa's friend Natasha Cornett, a Satanist who was serving 3 life sentences for kidnapping and murder.
Patricia was about 220 pounds at the time. I weighed about 100 pounds. And she jumped on my friend and was hurting her. And I jumped on Patricia and choked her with a shoestring. Get her off my friend, to get her off me.
Jones was unconscious when the prison guards pulled Christa off her.
I guess it's like bullies. Bullies in school. They're going to bully you till they realize they can't bully you, till you're going to stand up to them and back them down.
2 weeks after the Rec-Yard murder attempt, Christa made a surprising move. She asked for the legal right to end her appeals and to proceed with her execution. Christa's lawyers questioned whether she knew what she was doing. They begged the court to let Christa have some time to reconsider. But Christa held firm for months. And in June 2002, Judge Mary Beth Leibowitz let her drop her appeal. Her execution date was set for August 19th. Christa wept tears of joy, thanking the judge again and again.
I think that a punishment much more severe than death would be for Christa Pike to spend the next 60 years in prison. By her own admission of wanting to drop her appeals, she wants to leave prison. It's no place to live, and death is that escape.
I was just ready, willing, and able to do anything I had to do to not have to live like this anymore. I got tired.
Then, in a stunning reversal, Christa changed her mind within days. Christa's lawyers filed a motion just in time, and the Court of Appeals stayed her execution with less than 3 weeks to go. For the next 3 years, motions and appeals went back and forth. Finally, in October 2005, Christa Pike's death sentence was affirmed by the court. However, no date of execution has been set.
A year ago, I'd have told you I'd have thought she was on her last days on this earth. But it just seems they come back and drag things out.
I see no point in the death penalty. Most of the time they're on death row so long that it's not quick punishment. It's lingering, and they would almost rather be put to death than stay there for the duration of their life.
Still on death row, Christa Pike is kept away from the other prisoners, except for an hour a day in the exercise yard where she is handcuffed and shackled.
I don't even remember what it feels like to be free. I've lived in here longer than I've ever lived any one place in my life. I don't remember what it feels like to not have somebody chain me up when I walk out a door or tell me when I can use the bathroom or eat a meal.
Colleen Slemmer's mother has little sympathy.
You get 3 meals. You get lots of appeals. You know, you don't have to ever worry about looking for a meal or a book or wanting something. It's handed to you.
Christa Pike has been granted what is supposed to be her final hearing in 2007. It could result in the first execution of a woman in Tennessee in 150 years.
And my guess is someday she's going to face the needle.
Because all of the appeals have been exhausted to this point, I can't help but believe that she will be put to death.
But Pike's upcoming resentencing hearing could also result in a life sentence.
With recent events, I know that she'll never come home, but we still hope that there's a chance for life without parole.
If that happens, Pike would spend the rest of her days in general population.
She would have to do what everybody else has to do. Scrubbing, cleaning, dealing with everybody there, and maybe somebody will pay her back and do what she did to my daughter.
For a mother whose child was murdered, justice is still just an unfulfilling word, as another mother still fights for the life of a killer.
Christa wants to live. She has a niece and 2 nephews that she adores, and it would be more devastating to the little children that love her, to have her murdered by the state. There are so many people that love Christa, and Christa wants to live for all of us.
I took somebody's life, took somebody's child away, and somebody's friend, somebody's sister. Hurt so many people with this, and even though it's not me, and I can't take full responsibility for this anymore, and I won't, because if I'm going to die in here, I'm going to die for my truth, not for my lie. Accept me for who I am, good, bad, and ugly, but I'm not going to die for a lie anymore. I'll die for my truth.
The debate on whether capital punishment is right or wrong is emotional and won't likely end soon. And the jury is still out on whether the death penalty actually reduces violent crime in the United States.